Hello, everyone. Bob Pulver again with Elevate Your AIQ. We are still here at HR Tech 2025. Now I have the pleasure of speaking with Naomi Lariviere from ADP. So welcome, Naomi.
Love talking about AI, so thanks for having me.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to learn about some of the things that you guys are working on. I admittedly spend a lot of time with startups in the space, and I've learned after some conversations with people that are partners with Oracle and talked to SAP SuccessFactors and some of the larger providers in the broader, HR tech and talent tech space, that there's plenty of innovation happening in some of these larger companies. I have full respect for that, having spent 25 years of my career at large enterprise. So excited to dig into this a little bit with you and learn about your strategy for the product team and where things are going. So why don't we just start with telling us a little bit about your background and what brought you to ADP?
Sure. So I'm a career HR tech person. I started in the assessment space, and really it's kind of been this like thing that just has folded forward. Talent, payroll, full HCM. I've done it all. But at ADP, my role is the chief product owner of shared products, which is really any product that goes across all of our platforms.
Okay.
So think payroll, talent, access and identity management. I kind of see everything. But in the last 2 years, I took on our client-facing AI program. So our philosophy is really to build once and deploy multiple times. So whether we're thinking about ideas for small business all the way to large global MNC types of organizations, anything AI fits within my space.
Wow, that's a lot.
That is a lot. It's a lot of fun, though.
Yeah, no, that's great. The approach that you take, I mean, as you think about the breadth of that portfolio, how do you think about some of the elements that are sort of consistent across that versus, um, going deep in specific domains? Do you start with the commonalities and build that common sort of framework, but how do you think about that?
Yeah, so if you look at what we've done over the last year or so, we do have platforms that sit in different parts of the market. And because we do have this philosophy of build once, deploy twice, it's been about building out a platform that actually you can then embed within each of the different platforms.
Okay.
The consistent user experience, consistent way of, thinking about orchestration and intent. So a lot of the focus has been around chat insights, actions that you can take using this type of technology. And then we're looking for what our clients are struggling with. And, we have 1.1 million different clients and we see the gamut. But there is commonality, whether you're a small business owner to these larger companies. And those are the problems that we want to solve.
Yeah, that makes sense. How big is the team and how are they sort of straddling, those different, domains and thinking about, the data that's feeding into the models and things like that?
We have a large data science team. We have well over 100 different data scientists that are just specifically focused on the common components of AI. Each of the different products that we have their own data scientists as well. So we're probably 300 plus data scientists at ADP.
Wow, that's a pretty big.
It is, but part of our one data solution, which is the largest, most complete workforce data set that we've got. So, it spans industries, regions, generations, roles. We've got all that data. So it's like, how do you put that data best to use when we're thinking about the problems that we want to solve?
The analytics that you get out of all of that, I mean, I imagine I don't know if you sell that or make it available to, partners, but yeah, it seems like there's really rich.
Yeah, we have very rich data set. we do focus on giving back to our own clients. So, the benchmarking that we do,
Yep.
the insights. But what we're really looking for is like consistency across all of the different clients that we serve, so that as they evolve or scale their own business, that they're getting consistent insights from us in
Right.
terms of that data.
Okay, nice. The we started talking before about like responsible AI and some of these principles, and I always talk to folks about well, first, when it comes to responsible AI, I say we're all responsible at some level, um, and I guess it depends on what domain you're in and the type of data and what the algorithm is actually doing. But as you think about that, as you lead the product team, um, are there is there specific steps that you take and the rigor that you have around what does it mean to be responsible by design and making sure that all these designers and developers are thinking about um, how to design these things appropriately.
That's a great question. I would say, 10 years ago in product development, a lot of the compliance aspect happened after you actually developed your solution. So it's like, hey, I've done my project. Can you review it for me? That was kind of like how a lot of product development has been done. But in 2019, we established our AI and Ethics Council, which is filled with subject matter experts outside of ADP, from academics, legal, and artificial intelligence community, and they help advise us around how do we use this technology and how do we apply it. We have a huge responsibility with the amount of clients that we have, and our clients trust us. So, we spend a lot. So we've really shifted left on the process. And now every time you have a use case that you want to apply this technology to, from the moment that you come up with the idea to the time that that idea is actually live, generally available to clients, it's gone through at least 4 different rounds of like progressive compliance review across legal, security, privacy, and ethics use. Because we're looking for that amount of clients, they want transparency, they want explainability, they want to know how this works, and we feel that we have a huge obligation to ensure that it's done the right way.
I applaud that because I don't know that everyone shares that mentality, unfortunately. But I mean, you're so central to how so many companies are operating, and the sensitivity of that data is so vital. And so I think that's a very logical and noteworthy approach. The profession itself of product management, how do you see that evolving? Like as you're building AI products, I imagine you're also using other AI products to help you get there with both speed and quality. I mean, how do you see the role itself evolving?
So I think this role is going to change, dramatically over the next 3 to 5 years. We have tools now that help us with the research aspect of the job. Before, that was a lot of go fish for yourself type of activity, but there's a lot of it now available to us where it's you can just like give me all the research papers on XYZ, right?
Yeah.
And it comes at your fingertips. So there's a lot of that, a lot of this job, especially for folks who are deeply into the code. There's a lot of writing, story generation, and things like that. So I think, on the day-to-day task of a product manager, that's going to change. But I think what you're going to see is maybe less execution focused and more on looking around the corner for what's the next thing, or what's the evolution of the technology and how do you apply it. So I think more time maybe focusing on the problems that you're trying to solve rather than just the technical, like I need to have a groomed backlog and
Yeah.
processing it.
Right. Yeah. The I guess one of the things that has come up recently is people talk about trustworthy data, um, and then there's this concept of synthetic data, and at least in marketing circles, think about like synthetic personas and how can you sort of model how that might look. Is that something that gets incorporated into product management or not quite?
Yeah, no, we do use synthetic data. That's generally used in the earlier parts of the development process.
Okay.
So, like, when you're moving from an idea into you want to try a proof of concept, you're experimenting. So we have sandboxes which have synthetic data in it.
Okay.
As you move out of like POC mode into a pilot, that's where the data gets flipped. So yes, you can use it to model to see if your idea is actually going to.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, certainly ADP has a huge data, resources, and so maybe that's maybe that's more appropriate for a company that doesn't necessarily have access to all the real data as well. But the other area that I spend a lot of time talking about is, AI readiness, starting from, the literacy and skills mindset of every individual, all the way up to organizational readiness, which may have obviously some different attributes. It's not just the aggregate of all individual AIQs, as I like to call them. But how do you see when you talk to clients? Are they Do you feel like they're doing the right things to get ready to be comfortable using some of the more advanced solutions that you're um, deploying, um, and that they are themselves being responsible in how they use it and how they use it to help make decisions?
So, we're in an interesting time, I believe, especially in the HR technology profession. I think any vendor like us, we show up, we've got salespeople, and you've got, SMEs that know what artificial intelligence is. And they come in, they use lots of big words, probabilistic, deterministic, and, like, in general, it's kind of like, oh, they really know what they're talking about because they're using big words. But I actually was just talking with a client on Monday, and they had asked for a specific, we need the AI, we need an AI expert, and it specifically has to be me. Okay, great. Like, I don't mind.
Yeah.
And the CHRO said to me, she's like, everybody comes in and they use all those words, and we just nod and smile like we know what you're talking about.
Right.
But we don't. We're not technologists. We're focused on people, right? So, and in their own organization, they have their own fears about, is my job going to be eaten or cannibalized by this technology? Talk to me like a human. Tell me what this stuff is, what it's going to do for me, how it's going to help me do my job. And then I was at an event that ADP sponsored a couple of weeks ago, and we had two clients up on stage, and they were asked by an analyst, "How ready are you for this?" And we're into this world of generative AI now, what, 2, 3 years, and they're like, "We're just starting." Right. So I think there's this like push and pull between the daily reality of like people like us, we're like, buy our AI thing, but the readiness of organizations, they're still figuring it out. And, what I would always advocate for is HR teams really partnering with their technology teams.
Yeah.
To look for use cases in their own shop around, what they can use or like what they can do in their own business that helps with some business outcome that they're trying to drive.
Right.
I think that there's this gap, or maybe there's an untapped need in the market to really kind of bring the human back into how we talk about AI,
Yeah.
so that people, who aren't technologists can actually understand it and then understand real world use cases of how they can actually take the technology and apply for it. Now, a lot of our clients, they're small businesses, they're mid-market size clients. They don't have these huge technology teams like these large enterprises do. So what they want their own technology teams is to be running the business of their own product, right?
Yeah.
So they're looking at vendors like us and the others to really give them technology that works for them. and that they feel that they can trust. And I think, that's what's going to win out in this space.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I feel like that's the problem with, some of this just fundamentals, right, around communicating clearly what our objectives are, why this is, why we bought this solution, why we're going to use it. This is what our expectations, and these are our expectations, for you as an individual. And you put it well. I mean, we're bringing this to you, and we're doing this for you.
Yeah.
This isn't something that's being, thrust upon you, and it's being done to you. And so I think just how you frame that is important to drive adoption and some of that literacy. But I hear you on the buzzword bingo and the terminology that a lot of these uh, salespeople are coming in with. I just feel like, I don't know, it just reminds me of like when people online would be like, there's these grand assumptions that people make that you're just using words that people, this is not in everyone's, vernacular to talk
Yeah.
about some of these terms. And so, I don't know, I'm just reminded of the times I see online, like, explain this to me like I'm 5.
Yep.
Right. And just really, because that's the only way where you can get someone to actually talk using normal words in the dictionary.
100%. And I think, to a certain extent, we have the responsibility to help our prospects, our clients understand this in a way that they feel comfortable and confident that we're, it's going to solve a problem that they have, but then also we're doing it in a way that they feel is in alignment with their own way of thinking about data and privacy and, bias and all of that. So, yeah, I think like the hype can go away, and let's get back to the reality of the work that we're all trying to support.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, I think the ready AI readiness, AI maturity, however you want to sort of frame it. I think you will get different answers from different people because I guess it depends on how sort of human centric they think about some of these things. And so, for me, I care about people readiness. Like literally, are you ready to sort of learn and adapt and grow with this technology, suite of technologies, as opposed to, or some certain organizational leaders, I imagine, would think about it in terms of, do we have the infrastructure? Do we have the data and analytics maturity to feed good food to the AI? And so there's different ways in which people may assess and frame that. But bottom line is nothing's going to change if you don't have good mechanisms to trigger, behavior change, and so you've got to. I think it's necessary to frame it from a human-centric way. You can't build your strategy without incorporating AI literacy and readiness as part of your change management.
I agree with you, but I will also say that, I think a lot of organizations are still they're very slow to actually train their employees on AI and really thinking about the fluency of what they know in this technology space. I've been in several rooms and at conferences where I've been speaking, and I said, okay, who has AI on their phone? And, every hand in the room goes up.
Yeah.
So if you're, slow to really be thinking about this and deploying, training or, mechanisms where they can learn about it and learn about it in the way that you want them to understand it.
Yeah.
And protect your data, then you need to get on that train, because this shadow AI, with employees,
Yep.
I mean, think about the messages that are in the market. There's layoffs happening. AI is going to take their job. That's kind of the common thing. People are using AI today in their jobs, whether or not you've approved that technology or not.
Yep.
And so if you haven't started the journey, start now. Start now. Think about, how do you upskill your employees? What do you want them to know about your data strategy? And how do you think about responsible AI as an organization? Every employee, it should be a mandatory training that every employees should take.
I absolutely agree. I've been advocating for that for a while. I mean, I just feel like it's inevitable. It's just another layer underneath, private data privacy, cybersecurity.
Yep.
Let's make sure people are protecting the organization, but also have the ability to recognize where there's opportunities for growth,
Yep.
for innovation, and so leaning into those durable, human skills.
Well, and I don't really see this suite of technologies as it's only IT or development.
Mhm.
It's not only our place to say what we're going to do with the technology. The best ideas that you will have to leverage this technology are going to be the person who sits in the sales department or in the accounting team. Like those are like really think about your workflow, your processes, where you have opportunity that this technology could then be applied to the problem instead of just going like, we're going to put AI everywhere.
Right.
It doesn't really work that way, right?
Absolutely. No, I agree. Well, Naomi, this has been great. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. I learned a lot. Yeah, I think there's a lot of good insights here for my listeners, my audience. So thank you again, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone.